Slovenia agrees with the cautious approach taken by our neighbours, as our recent independence and control over northern Istria require us to prioritise economic stability over political risks. We are fully prepared to join this proposed trade bloc immediately, provided it guarantees free movement of goods across our shared borders without compromising our sovereignty. Let us draft the initial agreements quickly to foster prosperity in Central Europe, while leaving the question of imperial restoration for a much later date.
A joint flag implies a political union that, we have explicitly stated, is premature without first establishing economic trust. We are willing to accept your conditional support for the trade bloc. But Vienna insists that discussions on any shared symbols or imperial restoration must wait until this commercial framework proves successful. Let us finalize the terms of this economic partnership immediately, as further delay serves no one's interests in our region. Vienna accepts Hungary's commitment to open borders as the foundation for our new economic partnership, though we must reiterate that symbols like a joint flag remain off the table until trust is firmly established. With Slovakia, Slovenia, and our Balkan neighbors ready to remove trade barriers, Austria proposes, We convene next week to draft the specific tariffs and logistics protocols. Let us prove that commerce can unite Central Europe before anyone dares to speak again of empires.
Slovakia welcomes the agreement on open borders, as our economy relies heavily on seamless trade with our Hungarian and Austrian neighbors. We are ready to draft the logistics protocols immediately, though we must insist that any future talk of a joint flag respects our hard-won independence from 1993. Let us focus on making this trade bloc a success before revisiting symbols of political union.
Vienna is pleased that Hungary has finally aligned with the pragmatic consensus for a trade bloc, as this economic foundation is the only viable path toward any future cooperation. We will proceed immediately to draft the logistics protocols with Slovakia and our neighbors. But let it be clear that the dream of a joint flag must remain dormant until this commercial union demonstrates tangible success. Our priority is stability and prosperity for Central Europe, not a rushed return to imperial structures that could fracture our modern sovereignty.
Bratislava confirms our readiness to finalize the logistics protocols for open borders, as seamless trade with Hungary and Austria is vital for our industrial growth. We remain firm that our sovereignty, secured since our peaceful separation in 1993, cannot be compromised by premature symbols like a joint flag. Let us prove the value of this economic union through tangible prosperity before entertaining any further political integration. Slovakia firmly rejects your demand for annexation and will not surrender the sovereignty we peacefully gained in 1993. While we value our shared history, threats of bloodshed are unacceptable and will only lead to immediate conflict rather than unity. We invite you to withdraw this ultimatum and return to the productive trade discussions we just held with Austria and our other neighbors.
Hungarian armoured columns cross the border. In a shocking break from diplomatic norms, Hungary launches a surprise armoured invasion into Slovakia just hours after peace talks collapse. 750 infantry troops, supported by 20 main battle tanks, surge across the border, bypassing minor checkpoints to drive directly toward Bratislava. The Slovakian government, caught completely off guard by the aggression from a former partner in trade talks, struggles to mobilize its defenses as Hungarian forces cut through the countryside with terrifying speed. Aerial bombardment of Bratislava suburbs. The 5 Hungarian attack helicopters arrive over the outskirts of Bratislava, initiating a devastating campaign of close air support. They systematically dismantle Slovakian defensive positions and communication hubs, creating chaos within the capital's infrastructure. Ground forces exploit the aerial suppression, advancing rapidly through the confusion as local police and militia units are overwhelmed by the coordinated assault. Fall of the Slovakian capital. Resistance in Bratislava crumbles as Hungarian tanks roll into the city centre, encountering only scattered and disorganized opposition. The Slovakian government attempts to flee eastward, but is intercepted by fast-moving Hungarian mechanized units. With the capital secured and leadership captured, organized military resistance effectively ceases, marking the total military surrender of Slovakia within 3 days of the initial invasion. Proclamation of the Greater Hungarian Realm. Following the swift victory, the Hungarian government officially declares the political annexation of Slovakia, dissolving the Slovakian state entirely. The territory is integrated directly into Hungary, ending 73 years of separation since the dissolution of Czechoslovakia. International observers watch in stunned silence as the map of Central Europe is redrawn by force, validating Hungary's earlier threats made during the failed diplomacy sessions. European Union condemns aggression. The European Union holds an emergency session in Brussels, issuing a stern condemnation of Hungary's unprovoked invasion and annexation of Slovakia. Leaders from France, Germany, and Italy call for immediate sanctions, labeling the action a grave violation of international law and the principles of the Schengen area. Despite the rhetorical outrage, no immediate military intervention is authorized, leaving the new status quo in Central Europe temporarily unchallenged by foreign armies. Austrian mobilization on the border. Alarmed by the rapid collapse of its southern neighbor, Austria begins mobilizing reserve units along its border with the newly expanded Greater Hungary, while Vienna stops short of declaring war. The movement of troops signals a deep anxiety about the stability of the region and the potential for further Hungarian expansionism. Diplomatic channels remain open but tense, as Austria seeks guarantees for its own sovereignty amidst the geopolitical earthquake. Romania reinforces Transylvanian frontier. Bucharest reacts swiftly to the news of Slovakia's annexation by reinforcing its own borders in Transylvania, fearing it may be the next target of Hungarian revisionism. Romanian armoured units move into position near the Carpathian passes, creating a fortified defensive line intended to deter any potential cross-border incidents. The mood in Romania shifts from cautious optimism regarding trade to high alert, as the spectre of historical territorial disputes resurfaces with violent immediacy. UN Security Council Emergency Meeting. The United Nations Security Council convenes an emergency meeting to address the crisis in Central Europe, with member states debating the appropriate response to Hungary's actions. Draft resolutions calling for the immediate withdrawal of Hungarian forces from Slovakia are proposed, but face procedural delays and veto threats from various powers. Meanwhile, humanitarian organizations begin preparing aid packages for displaced civilians fleeing the conflict zones, though the fighting has already ceased. Integration of Slovak infrastructure begins. Administrative teams from Greater Hungary arrive in Bratislava to begin the complex process of integrating Slovakian infrastructure into the Hungarian national system. Currency exchange offices open, Hungarian laws are proclaimed in public squares, and bilingual signage is ordered to be replaced or updated. The transition is marked by a mix of apprehension and pragmatic acceptance among the local population as the reality of the new political order sets in. Czech Republic seals its borders. Prague announces the immediate sealing of its southern border with the newly annexed Slovak territories, citing national security concerns and the need to prevent spillover instability. Czech military patrols increase significantly along the frontier, and temporary travel restrictions are imposed on citizens crossing from the former Slovakia. The sudden closure disrupts supply chains and family connections, highlighting the fracturing of the Visegrad Group alliance in the face of Hungarian unilateralism. NATO activates Article 4 consultations, invoking Article 4 of the North Atlantic Treaty. Several member states request urgent consultations regarding the threat to the territorial integrity and political independence of nations in the region, while not triggering the Mutual Defense Clause of Article 5. The move signifies a high level of alarm within the alliance concerning Hungary's aggressive revision of borders. Military planners in Washington and London begin reviewing contingency plans for the defense of eastern flank members. Civil unrest in eastern Slovakia. Small-scale protests erupt in eastern Slovakian towns as local populations express dissatisfaction with the rapid imposition of Hungarian administration. Demonstrators chant slogans demanding the restoration of Slovakian sovereignty, though these gatherings are quickly dispersed by Hungarian gendarmerie units stationed in the area. The unrest remains localized, but serves as a reminder that military conquest does not guarantee immediate political stability or popular consent. Russia observes with strategic interest. Moscow issues a statement calling for restraint from all parties, while privately viewing the disruption of EU unity as a strategic opportunity. Russian diplomats engage in back-channel communications with Budapest, exploring the potential for energy deals that could solidify the new regime's independence from Western pressure. The Kremlin's calculated neutrality allows Greater Hungary to consolidate its gains without immediate Eastern interference, shifting the balance of power in the region. Economic markets react to instability. Regional stock markets experience volatility as investors react to the sudden geopolitical shift and the uncertainty surrounding the future of Central European trade. The Hungarian forint fluctuates wildly before stabilizing at a lower value, reflecting the costs of military mobilization and anticipated sanctions. Analysts warn that the long-term economic isolation of Greater Hungary could severely impact its industrial output if diplomatic relations do not improve soon. Ultimatum from the European Council. The European Council delivers a formal ultimatum to Greater Hungary, demanding the immediate cessation of all hostile activities and the initiation of dialogue regarding the status of the annexed territories. Failure to comply within 48 hours will result in the suspension of Hungary's voting rights within the EU and the freezing of substantial development funds. The deadline approaches rapidly, placing the Hungarian leadership at a critical crossroads between defiance and negotiation.